Hello, thank you for joining today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Matthew. Today we're in chapter 4. We're going to be looking at verses 13 through 17. Go ahead, open up your Bibles, read along with us so you can understand what we're talking about here. As we start this section, we recognize that this is going to be the beginning of Jesus' ministry. And so we recognize he's going back home. So we'll say that this is the fact that we do ministry at home, and that's what we always do. We always want to prioritize our ministry at home, and this is what Jesus does. In fact, we'll see as we go through the book of Matthew that most of the times that he's doing ministry, it's going to be up in the Galilee area. And so we recognize that now Jesus is down in Judea. And according to some of the other gospels, he's been down in Judea doing some baptisms. But up in Galilee, John the Baptist has been arrested by Herod Antipas. Now, Herod Antipas is the tetrarch of Galilee and that area up there. So it's kind of interesting that John the Baptist would be up there while Jesus is down here. But apparently John went up there. Matthew's silent about it. Why? We'll read more about this actually later on in chapter 14. But John goes up to Galilee. He has a problem with Herod Antipas. Herod Antipas has married his sister-in-law, and John is giving him a very hard time about that. And so what will end up happening is that John gets arrested and put into prison up there in Galilee. Now, Jesus is down in Judea, and when he hears this, he returns back up to Galilee. Now, recognize that is home. So what he's doing is he's returning home, going back home. And that's where he's going to actually start his ministry. He's going to go back home to start his ministry. And you would say, well, but home is back in Galilee, and Herod Antipas is up in Galilee, and that's where John the Baptist just got arrested. Why would he go back up there? Well, it makes sense that he'd go back up there because John the Baptist's ministry was down in Judea. So although John was up there, his ministry is down here. And so as he's down here, if indeed there was danger, it would be down in the Judea area where John was doing the baptism. So Jesus, knowing that, he goes back up to Galilee. Now, why do I make it sound like Jesus is worried? Well, because in the Greek, that term that we see there for withdrew to Galilee, in every other place that it's used, well, most of the places it's used in the New Testament, it's because you've withdrawn for safety purposes. In other words, there was a danger, so you withdrew. And so that's usually how that word is used. So Matthew uses that word here. So we can try to understand that what he's really trying to say is that Jesus had to go back to someplace safe. So he goes back home. Now notice it says Nazareth, and then it says that he went from Nazareth to Capernaum. So Nazareth is his hometown. It's where he grew up. It's kind of in the middle of Lower Galilee. It's kind of like it's inland. It's not near water, really. It's in the mountainous, hilly area. And it's a very small place. It's a small village, if you would. But he's going to go to Capernaum. Now, Capernaum is going to become his home base moving forward. That's where he's going to live. That's where his ministry is. And that makes sense because Capernaum is a much bigger town. It's many, many, many more people there. So as Jesus is going to try to share his gospel, he needs to go to a place where there's many more people. And don't forget, Jesus has already told us that, well, he hasn't told us yet, but we're going to find out that he says that it's hard for a prophet to be accepted in his hometown. So Jesus needs to go someplace new and someplace where his message can be received and where there's many people to receive it. So he's going to go to Capernaum moving forward. And Capernaum's an important place. We'll see that that's where he meets up with Peter and Andrew and James and John, and Matthew's actually from there as well. So we're going to see that 5 of the 12 disciples are actually from Capernaum, and the others are from the Galilee region, but these 5 are actually in this city that Jesus is going to go to. And so he gets there, and what we see is that Matthew uses his movement up to there, and he uses it as fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy in Isaiah chapter 9. And what's interesting about it is he talks about Zebulun, and he talks about Naphtali. Well, that's where Nazareth and Capernaum were, in Zebulun and Naphtali. And so we see that Matthew recognizes that, and he goes to Isaiah, and he sees that prophecy, and he applies it to Jesus. And what's interesting about that is that at that point, Capernaum is a Roman port. We see centurions there. We see taxes are being collected there. So this is a Roman port. So many Gentiles there. And so when Matthew makes this point about a light to the Gentiles, and as he quotes Isaiah, he's making several points there. That, first of all, that Jesus is the light and he's going into this dark place. But that dark place is dark because not just because of what we would normally consider a dark place, but remember, it's a Gentile area. So now it's a place where Gentiles are, but he's going to be a light unto these people. And so once again, how many times have we said this in these studies already so far, that Matthew sees Jesus as a fulfillment of the Messiah, but also that is not just for the Jewish people, but it's for all people, including the Gentiles. Finally, when we look at this last verse in verse 17, we see that it's a new start. Jesus is beginning new. And so as we see this is going to be the start of his ministry. And it's really the first time that Jesus becomes the center of Matthew's gospel. Before this, Joseph was the center of nativity. John was the center of the baptism. And even in the desert experience, we saw Satan doing his work there. But now Jesus becomes the center of the gospel message of whatever Matthew's going to say from here on in. So we're going to be centered on Jesus moving forward. And that's where we're going to end today. So if you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment section below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.